Mr. Mahon to ask his question.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen. My question is to Councillor Stretton. I represent an Oldham community group named Save Roytons Greenbelt. We currently have a membership in excess of 2,300 concerned local residents. We have an association with similar community groups in Shaw and Chadderton that have memberships in excess of a further 2,000 local residents between them. Our common aim is to oppose the GMSF proposals to build on Oldham's precious Greenbelt. Furthermore, whilst we appreciate that further housing may be required to be provided within the Oldham Borough, we feel it is disproportionate to expect Royton, Shaw and Chadderton to bear the bulk of this proposed future housing allocation. As the leader of Oldham Council, can you reassure the residents of Oldham that regardless of any possible revision of the GMSF draft plan, ONBC will adopt a policy of brownfield first? By adopting this policy, Oldham Council would endeavour to proactively source brownfield sites as alternatives to building on registered Greenbelt sites within the borough, and not to consider building on any Greenbelt until all potential brownfield alternatives borough-wide have been exhausted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mahon. Councillor Stretton.
I can confirm that it's national planning policy to prioritise brownfield first. In line with the government's recent housing white paper, I can also confirm that the council will only amend Greenbelt boundaries when all other reasonable options have been exhausted. These options do include brownfield sites. They also include estate regeneration of underused and surplus public sector land, optimising density and exploring whether other authorities can help meet the identified needs. However, at this point, we cannot meet the borough's identified housing and employment land needs as legally required by government. Then the council will have no choice but to consider Greenbelt release to ensure future generations have the quality housing and jobs that they need to thrive.
I rise tonight to propose this motion, a motion that's subject that right now and will for many years to come be of gravest concern to many of my constituents and citizens and stakeholders of our borough. I am referring, of course, to the proposals to decimate the Greenbelt surrounding Shaw and Crompton and elsewhere in order to build new housing under the 20-year development plan outlined in the Greater Manchester Spatial Framework. I am not unaware also of the considerable impact of these plans on areas represented by other members in this chamber in Chadderton, Royton and Saddleworth, and the fact that a great many of their residents are also up in arms about this matter. The motion calls upon the Council to recognise the Liberal Democrat view that the Greater Manchester Spatial Framework plans are unsatisfactory and unsuitable for Oldham, and that the price we pay in letting the wholesale development of our Greenbelt take place is simply too great. For once our Greenbelt is lost, it is lost forever. This is a view shared by my Liberal Democrat colleagues across Greater Manchester, in Bury, in Bolton, in Rochdale and in Stockport, and by our candidate for Greater Manchester Mayor. I even think Labour's mayoral candidate is against it, but you can never be too sure. It's a view shared by my constituents who wrote, marched, and will write and march again until their message is heard, that wholesale Greenbelt development is not acceptable. 20 years, the 20-year GMSF plan requires just short of 14,000 new homes to be built and almost 700,000 square metres of land to be made available for new factories and warehousing in Oldham Borough. Of those nearly 14,000 new homes, almost a quarter, 3,000, will be located in green land sites in Shaw and Crompton, and vast tracts of other green land are designated for industrial development. We believe this is madness. The Liberal Democrat councillors representing Shaw and Crompton, this plan represents a massive and inequitable land grab in our area with the loss of much-loved Greenbelt and OPL, or in English, other protected open land. And as local elected representatives, we shall fight these proposals tooth and nail. Our motion calls, first and foremost, for the Council to withdraw Oldham from the Greater Manchester Spatial Framework. I know that Labour colleagues representing Royton and Cheriton are also upset at plans to devastate Greenbelt and surrounding the areas they live, and I'd ask them tonight to support this motion. However, we're not NIMBYs. We know that we will need new homes, and we also want new jobs to go with them. But it is our view that these can be provided more sensitively and more appropriately by adopting a 15-year plan. Our motion therefore proposes that we adopt such a plan that is shaped to meet the needs of our borough and its residents, a plan that is more responsive to public concerns, a plan that will focus first on brownfield development, and a plan that will aim to spread development equitably across the whole borough and not simply concentrate it in a few areas and overload them. Our proposal includes a requirement to build in reviews of progress and any future need every 5 years, a common sense measure to ensure that the local plan remains relevant. The philosophy outlined in the local plan should also, in our view, reflect common sense and should be based on the principle that Greenbelt is sacrosanct. It is the view of the Liberal Democrat group that new homes should be first built on brownfield sites, on sites where planning permission has already been granted for housing development, and upon the many derelict and
Your
unloved
time
sites.
is up, Councillor. Is that agreed?
Unloved sites in our town centres and districts. We also believe that every empty mill and factory where possible should be converted into housing, and where it is not possible, those buildings should be flattened and used to provide sites for homes. Two such sites have recently been highlighted in this chamber by my colleague Councillor Murphy, Hartford Mill and Maple Mill. And lastly, we believe the local plan should place a high priority on bringing back the large number of empty homes in our borough back into use. As of November last year, Mr Mayor, nearly 1,200 privately owned homes were recorded as being empty for more than 6 months. In summary, Mr Mayor, Liberal Democrats believe the Great Manchester Spatial Framework
I'm afraid
is simply bludgeoned, and I'd urge people to support the motion, Save Our Greenbelt.